What if I told you a trade policy announced on the White House lawn on a Friday afternoon could cost your business thousands by Monday morning? Not because you did anything wrong, not because a shipment got lost, but because trade regulation and policies are updated overnight. This is the new reality for customs brokers, and we're here to find out how an impact on the trade industry means an impact on your business's bottom line. Welcome to Tarrific Talk. I'm Jonathan, I'm your host, and with me is Monica Carr. She is the owner of All Borders Inc. and a licensed customs broker. Hi, Monica.
Hi, John. I'm so glad that we got the opportunity to do this again.
Absolutely. It was a great reception on our first episode. And as I always say at the beginning of every intro, if you are terrified of trade, don't be. You'll be terrific and tougher in trade starting tomorrow. So welcome to Tarrific Talk. So we wanted to take this opportunity to give a thank you to some of the people that were kind enough to leave some comments on our last video. We're really happy about it. Actually, we wanted to make a special mention to Caroline C189's comment, and we're going to use her as a launch pad because she said something very interesting, Monica. And she said, fascinating world that we don't get to see, and yet it impacts our wallets on the daily. What are your thoughts? What's your takeaway from that, Monica?
I want to thank Caroline for watching our channel and engaging. It really does mean the world to us. And just to put things into context on her comment, I want to go over a couple of stats just so that we can get an idea of how expensive it is to be an American. There are federal income taxes, payroll taxes, state taxes, local taxes, property taxes, sales and excise taxes. So depending on where you live and your spending habits, you're spending an average of $22,000 to $30,000 a year.
That's like some people's annual income. That's a lot of money.
It is. So we are being taxed more than ever. And over a year ago, many people did not realize that taxing other countries was actually taxing ourselves. But since tariffs are now trending, people are starting to realize how much not knowing is actually costing us. So if we go back to Caroline's comment here on the screen, she was never aware of the trade industry. As a result of the reciprocal tariffs, everyone is becoming not only aware, but that we need to learn that we are all importers.
I think that's a great phrase that you just said, that we are all importers. And I'd also like to mention that since tariffs have come into the mainstream, like suddenly people are looking for it, it's a trending topic. Do you think that attention or the impacts it has had on your industry as a whole, have they been positive or negative?
I would say that it's been both. And let me start off with the positive. I think it's great that everyone is talking about tariffs on a daily basis. When consumers make a purchase online, they're able to see that the duties and taxes are included, which is not something that we were seeing, more than a year ago. So That's great.
What about the negatives?
It's made me work more. So I don't want to work more than I have to, but unfortunately that's been the case for the past couple of months. The entry writing process has become a lot more complex. It's taking me longer to clear cargo, which is just making the logistics world a little bit more chaotic.
You could also say that tariffs are here to stay, right?
Yes.
And so is Monica.
Yes. So back in August, when the tariffs for Brazil changed to 50%, I thought that imports were no longer going to be happening, but that's not the case. And it's just proven to me that the tariffs are here to stay, and so are licensed customs brokers. And now I've just had to adapt and learn as much as I can so that I can help my clients in a time when they need me the most.
With the increase in tariffs, what becomes the most important document for importers, right? Because I'm sure everything now more than ever is becoming very scrutinized. Can you give us an example in which somebody can consult with a customs broker like yourself when it comes to them importing something into the United States?
Sure. It's always been that the commercial invoice has been the most important document an importer can give the customs broker because it determines the duty calculation. It's always been the case that the commercial invoice has to mention all the details regarding that commodity. There have always been certain elements that needed to be on a commercial invoice in order to do an importation, and that's the buyer, the seller, the HTS code, the country of origin, and the FOB value. So Incoterms, the payment terms.
There's a lot that goes into that invoice, apparently.
Yes, I need to know everything about that shipment.
Okay.
So I can't emphasize enough that every shipment has a story, and by looking at this document, I need to know everything about it. So it's more important than ever that all those details are on the invoice. For example, something can ship from Brazil, but the country of origin is Peru. So if on the invoice it says country of origin Peru and the manufacturer, the duties that are going to be paid on that specific shipment is going to be from Peru, which is at 10%, compared to Brazil, that is at 50%.
So basically what they need to do is communicate with you more, give you more information, so that way you can find that story of the shipment. Is that a fair assessment?
That is correct.
I had read an article by the Associated Press, and it says here that about in the past, customs brokers often used to get updates on new trade rules, and the time between they were issued and when they were implemented was much longer, with enough time to maybe even review, give some feedback before implementation. Now it happens almost at a finger snap, right? So how has this dynamic impacted like the general workflow? Can you like walk us through what that workflow looks like now, or what it used to look like?
Well, it's been a complete whirlwind for me because this industry is very slow to move, and historically trade agreements have taken 2 years to be implemented.
And now it's like 2 weeks, right?
Right, now changes are being made within unprecedented short time frames. So what consumers need to know is that the problem is just not the high reciprocal tariffs. Rather, it's the velocity in which these changes are happening. That is what's hurting businesses. Businesses don't have time to prepare like they used to. That again is a good and a bad thing for me as a licensed customs broker. I have to take more time to read regulations and deal with additional HTS codes, but that also means that my role is a lot more critical than ever before because people are more reliant on my adaptability so that their businesses can continue to thrive.
That's great to hear, because somebody's business, in a sense, is in a customs broker's hands. So if they're in all borders' hands, they're in good hands.
Yep, that's a great way of putting it.
And with that, if you are an importer that chooses to remain like a rock against the raging waters of this tariff landscape, please subscribe, give us a like, a follow, a comment, and be sure to tune in for more episodes in the future. This was Jonathan and Monica Carly. We are both from All Borders Inc., here with Tarrific Talk. If you would like to have a more in-depth discussion, by all means, go ahead and book a consultation with Monica. Of course, it's not going to be free, folks. It's not as excessive as the tariffs, though. And if you were terrified of tariffs before, don't be. You'll be tougher in trade starting tomorrow. With that, this was Tarrific Talk, and we'll see you at the next episode.